Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close. The hair high, right? Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Ooh, welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham, Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, a good morning. Nice to hear those sweet pipes at the top of the show and introducing us. So I take a sip of water there. How you been? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I have been abroad on an annual work trip for me. Got back on Thursday. So we're recording this on Saturday. I think since I landed back in the nation's capital at approximately 5 p.m. Thursday afternoon. So it's been 40 hours or so since then. 42 hours. I think I might have slept like 22 of those hours.
Nice.
It's always a long week when I'm away on this particular trip, but always a good time and always good to be home, Scott. So good to be back with you.
You suggested recording the night you got home, and I thought, oh boy,
I could have. I genuinely could have. Like the Blue Jays played at 4 on Thursday afternoon. So I got home, I don't know, in the 4th or 5th inning maybe. And I made it to extra innings.
Okay, pretty good.
So I didn't see the end of the game, but I did make it to the 10th. And then it was 1 a.m. and the TV was still on. But still, I got to the 9th. So I maybe could have. But and then last night was more of a wash, and you were not available either. So
no, but no, all good. So we've had some time to reflect, digest the men's World Curling Championships. I guess we should also touch on the Battle of the Sexes game that took place Monday.
Yeah,
I don't think you saw that at all, but
I saw some highlights.
Okay, yeah. So my takeaway, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to jump right in,
let's do it.
Is there was some excellent curling at the men's World Curling Championships. The percentages were quite high, but from all the games I watched, and I did watch every Canadian game and a couple of other games, the shot making was incredible. And then on the playoff weekend, it sort of got really good. Except for the Chinese team, which sort of, we can talk about that later. But like such amazing shot making by all the playoff teams. Bruce Mouat comes away with a win, and I believe I had that, making me 4 for 4.
Ooh, your heater continues.
I did go back and check the tape. That's what I said on the pod.
Okay. So I don't even need to pull up my notes here.
I mean, you can double check, but so their week overall, a little shaky. A couple of real bad losses. I believe they lost to
the Czechs.
Yeah, they lost to the Czechs, which was really surprising. They lost to China, Sweden, and Switzerland. But the game against the Czechs, Bruce Mouat, I think, threw like 60%. Something just didn't have a feel.
And that was 2 hours after the Canadian game, which with the exception of like 3 ends in the middle was very exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. And even the blanks though, Sean, in the round robin game were like, we're setting up for something. And then Bobby Lammy makes this like run back double peel that takes out one in the house too. And you're like, oh, okay.
But just through the middle, and they talked about it in the broadcast too. I think it was like 6, 7, 8 that both teams kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. In that, the last 8 rocks at the end were not really all that interesting.
No, those are the ones that was easy for me to zip through on fast forward. But in the playoffs, holy crap, they came to play. I think Grant Hardy threw 100% against the Canadians. He might have in the qualification game too that they played. They play against Sweden against Nicholas Edin, and
yes, they did. Won by a point.
Yeah. So I watched that one too, and he was just on fire the whole weekend. Full marks for them winning the event. Mm-hmm. That said, Sean, Team Canada was the best team all week. and it wasn't even really that close.
Mm-hmm.
In my view. They outscored the competition by 54 points, more than doubling the next plus minus, which was Switzerland at 21.
Right.
Their only loss was that extra end loss to Scotland. Their other games weren't particularly close. I think, they beat Sweden by 2, but the rest of them, I'm just looking at the scores.
7-5 against Germany, 4-2 against the Italians.
A couple that were 2 points, but the rest were 5 and 6. And I think if I look at their playing statistics,
they outshot everybody by
as a team lot. They outshot everybody, and position by position, Brett Gallant was second by 0.1 of a percentage points to Rasmus Rana, and the rest of the guys were first. So, I mean, they were really, really strong all week, and they happened to hit that terrible World Curling semifinal where you don't have a chance to, if you lose once, you don't have a chance. Mm-hmm. They played that way all through the Brier, right? Without having that extra life, and to win 4 straight games that were do or die to get to the final, win that final. Mm-hmm. And they just came up against the team Scotland that played it like 100%. I think Canada shot 90 something. So pretty crazy week. And then, in the bronze medal game, they came out and I don't know if you've heard Ben Hebert's quotes about that Chinese team being, quote, not a real team. He said they're going to destroy them. And sure they did. They did. So yeah, I think if you're a fan of Team Jacobs, you're a little disappointed that they didn't make the final, but in many ways, you could view that Canada-Scotland game as a kind of final. Switzerland was great in the final against Scotland and would have given Canada quite a good game as well. I believe at one point, Benoit Schwartz was shooting 100% and they were losing, which is that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just the level of curling across the board in the men's world was one of the highest that can ever remember seeing. Just a lot of really good shots, high quality teams. It kind of got me a little amped up for the Olympics, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I think the Olympics are going to be great.
Okay. So a couple of things here, Scott, that I wanted to talk about. Just again, I didn't see a lot of this, but I did see the interview Bruce Mouat did with Devin Heroux this week at the Players. And one of the things that Bruce Mouat said is on his final shot in that game against the Swiss, he thought that the rest of the guys wanted him to play a run back and not the draw. A little 3-4 foot run back. And of course he plays the draw. He makes the draw. Scott, what was your feeling in that moment? Did you like that draw call?
Yeah. So the draw was his sort of kryptonite all week. If he was going to miss a shot, it was a draw, and it was usually light. And late in the game, with the slide path breaking down, you're playing a draw into the middle. That's something that's always in the back of your mind, that you're like, oh, I don't know if we can carry it as sweepers. They knew the path. I mean, it was wide open draw to the 4 foot. I think you just had to touch the 4 foot. If he can't do that, then probably doesn't deserve to win the world championship, but things happen. And he had been so on with his hits all day. I'm looking at his numbers, draw number 85%, hit number 95% for that game. And he had just played a run or a hit on his last. I could have seen either one working, and he didn't have to stick the run back because there was a catcher on the side 12 foot. So either one was good. I was a little surprised he didn't play the run. It wasn't very long. It was a 5 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot run back. But, he's the skip. He gets paid to draw. And if that's what he was thinking leading up to it, right? Saying, okay, they're going to make this shot. I'm going to draw for the win. If that's what he's preparing himself for mentally, then that's what you got to go with.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones where you just got to kind of step out of the way, right? Where the skip says this is what I want to play, and okay, then that's what the skip is going to play, and you just sort of go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's that game, that whole game was really good. Everyone was making shots. Like, it wasn't misses. Even the blanks that happened weren't because somebody rolled somewhere wrong. It was like, I made a triple peel and now we're hitting out. Like, it was good. Really good curling. Really good to watch.
So congratulations to Team Scotland. They are the 2-time now world champions, 2 out of the past 3 years. Both of those came in Canada. Both of those, I believe both of those came after not winning the Scottish Championship either. That now is their white whale, I guess, is the Scottish Championship. But 2-time world champion Bruce Mouat and his guys. And again, we talked about it going in. Was there a little more pressure on them because they did not win the Scottish Championship? And if they have a bad showing for their standards, does that lead to any questions surrounding the Olympics next year? I think that is all pretty much set and done. And there's probably nothing Ross White and his team can do at this point to get that Olympic berth.
Yeah, probably not. It's it's hard to say to like, okay, you've won 2 world championships in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, know, and it sucks for the rest of Scottish curling because there are such great other teams like Ross White, as you mentioned, and they could go out and medal for Scotland. But the way that we do it here in Canada is we have a big spiel and so try to make it the hottest team.
Yep.
Right at the time. And their approach is different in Scotland. And so, maybe they'll just have to wait for the next quad, Ross White.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of what happened to Bruce Mouat in 2018, right? He was the upcoming guy, but no, they sent Muirhead, and that's just how it goes there. And so, Mouat will get 26 and 30. I think will be a lot more interesting if Bruce Mouat continues to play.
Yeah, for sure. And that's always a question, right? Do they continue to play? And the level at which they're playing, like, I hope they do. They do.
They're fun to watch. Scott, you mentioned Brad Jacobs, and they had a great week and were very strong all week. I watched most of the Scottish game during the round robin, as it was before I left. But I do want to talk a little bit about that semifinal, only in the sense of, again, I didn't see the whole game, but the choice by the team in the 10th end, down 5-4, they have a wide open shot to tie the game, and could have easily on theirs, like, all right, in our league, I don't know, maybe 60-40 that the person's going to make it, 65-35 the person's going to make it.
Yeah.
At that level, it's 100 or 99% that the person's going to make the shot to get to the extra end. They instead try a very difficult angle triple where the stone that they are raising back has to stick, and the double that is at the back of the 4-foot has to touch a rock that is at the 8-foot. Like, the angle I think was there, but it's a very difficult shot to try to win the game. And this brings up the debate always that we have now of, do you make the much harder shot to try to win the game, or do you take the easy shot and try to win it in the extra? And the odds in the extra are 9% or something that you're going to win the game. Yeah. I don't know. Are the odds that you're going to make that shot more than 9%? I'm not sure, because it was very, very difficult. Now, again, I saw the angles and saw the shot knowing the outcome, which perhaps influences my thoughts on it. But it just seemed like such a hard shot to stick. Like, the angles are there to get the triple, but sticking the one that you're raising back, given the amount of weight you have to throw, that's where I wondered, like, is that part of it there? But I don't know. What, again, in the moment as you were watching that, did you like going for the win there, or were you thinking maybe that's too hard, go for the single?
Yeah, I was thinking take your one and go to extras. I thought that it was I thought well, you're not going to make that. and listening to Brad Jacobs after the game say like, we were never going to steal against them. They can make double peels like in their sleep almost. They would have needed a guard almost biting the 12-foot and then almost biting the hog line.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it has a good chance of still being doubled off. So like I understand from that perspective of how difficult it will be to steal, but I still think in my opinion, it was easier to try and steal than making that shot. But they're playing the game. They know what the other guys are doing. They're watching their deliveries and stuff. And so understanding that they're okay losing the game on this shot,
right?
Then if they're okay with it, that's fine. That's the decision they made as a team. Nobody seemed to really question it in the moment, from what I remember. So while it's not something that I would have done, I don't begrudge them too much.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, it really is. You got to make 8 perfect shots the next end to have a chance. And even at that,
you might not,
yeah.
Right? Because the other team is so talented and so good. And
yeah, and the odds are like, I think you have a higher chance of that run back scoring you 1 point than 2 points. But if you score 1, then it's the same situation. You're adding on the chance of winning the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, you have in that shot, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the time, if not 50% of the time, you're going to get 1 out of it the way they play. And maybe 15% of the time you score 2. So go for it.
So why not? Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That's the semifinal. The bronze medal, of course, goes to Canada, as mentioned. The silver medal to the Swiss. Scott, this is a team that I have not been particularly high on over the years, but a great week for them to get to the final. Of course, coming up short in the final, but as you mentioned, not really on their fault. All 4 of them shoot over 90% in the final. They outshoot the Scottish team in that last game, but ultimately fall 5-4. So I think that's a great week for them. And going into next season, certainly they'll be the Olympic team representing Switzerland. And I don't know, maybe this gives at least someone like me a little more pause in thinking about what their odds are. And hopefully for them themselves, if they need a confidence boost, this is a good week for them leading into what next season will be. And if they can have a good result at the Euros, get that momentum, and then see what they can do in Cortina.
Yeah, I think we talked in a preview, Sean, that this team could finish anywhere from out of the playoffs to top of the podium, right? And you wouldn't really be surprised. You're right. Really good week. They did lose to the US, which is the one that jumps out off the sheet at you like, oh, really? Right. But they just like a lot of rocks in play, and Corey Dropkin does too. And I think there was a big 5 by the US in there somewhere. So 4 for the US in the 4th end. So, just giving up those big ends hurt them in that game. But overall, great week. Benoit Schwartz was really good this week. He was, he's always so calm and collected out there. You'd never know if he misses or makes based on what he does. He's just like, this is me. I'm pretty good. And Pablo Lachat being this power sweeping maniac. They showed it a lot in the final, but he's really tall and can really get a lot of leverage on the broom. So he had a great week sweeping. Overall, really good for them. I think they're sort of peaking at the right time as they go into the Olympics next year. And they've got to be a podium threat. It was also noteworthy for this team to get over the semifinal hump. I think Kathy mentioned it on the broadcast that it'd been 5 semifinals that Benoit Schwartz had played in and had never won one. Right. He'd won like 3 bronze medals or something, but had never made it to the final. So getting there confidence boost, a little more, what I want to say, like it's more positive that, okay, this is like something positive we can build on.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, it's the same old losing in the semifinal. Like you just get another little bit over that hump and can gain a lot of experience and benefit from that.
Yeah, so good job by them, and we'll see what happens next year. The other playoff teams, mentioned China, we'll talk about them in a minute. The Swedish team with Nicholas Edin, 8-4 on the week for them. That's a nice bounce back for them after what has been a pretty bad season for their standards, and they come out, get into the playoffs. Tough matchup, of course, with the Scottish team, lose by a point there. The other playoff team are the Norwegians. Magnus Ramsfeld is going 7-5. Get into the playoffs. They lose to the Chinese side in the qualifier game. And Scott, let's talk about what happened in that qualifier game, because even though I was on the other side of the world and not paying attention too closely to what was going on, this one came through pretty clear. The algorithms got this one to me. Yeah. The Chinese team, first end of that game, a run back, and the sweeper clearly touches the rock. Looked pretty intentional to try to move it, and the Norwegian team says, hey, we think you touched it. The Chinese team says, no, we didn't. And I mean, the shot was not made 100%, so the Norwegians let it lie. This also comes on the heels of, now there's no footage of it, but an accusation that in the game against Germany, one of the Chinese players kicked a rock that ultimately cost the Germans a point in that game. And there's been a lot written about this and talked about it, and people are upset. I think rightfully so. There's no place for intentional cheating. And that's really what this does look like in the game against the Norwegians. And again, like against Germany, there's no footage of it. So that one is an accusation, but based on the fact that this happens later in the week, this is not a great look, especially for an Olympic program. Now, this isn't Chinese curling, but an Olympic program that has questions surrounding it. Let's just say that, in terms of its the willingness of those at the highest level of the Olympic program to follow all the rules. Now, that's not to say that other countries don't bend rules and do that. But there have been questions, right? There's just been questions around the Chinese Olympic program.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Scott. You were again watching it live. I saw it later and thought it was pretty clear as day that this had happened, but the rules are such that unless the Norwegians really force it, the officials can't or didn't, at least. And it was pointed out that there's no video review in curling. So,
yeah,
you know what? Let's get out let's get a new signal, right? The NFL, in football, you got the flag you can throw. In baseball, you tap your ears. In the NBA, you sort of wave your finger around. Let's get one for curling and get some video review. If this is it bums me out that this is something that we actually have to talk about, but yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah. And the reason there's no video review is because not every sheet is covered the same, right? So there's not necessarily the same angles, and it wouldn't be fair to teams that are not playing on TV or not playing with a full broadcast setup to, try to rely on a system that wouldn't be as good. Yeah, this is really weird because it's an out turn, a counterclockwise turn rock that's coming down the sheet, and the sweeper is sweeping to keep it straight.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, he sort of pushes it to make it actually curl, like go opposite of the way that he was trying to move it from sweeping.
Yeah.
All I can think is that, maybe it was going to hit on the nose and that would have been worse. And at least this way, by pushing it over, it opened the front a little bit more. In the end, it was one of those situations for Norway where they were like, well, the end result wasn't bad for us. Like, it was actually better than maybe what it would have been. So they chose to let it lie, but it was pretty obvious that it was touched, right?
Yeah.
And the problem with the curling rules, and we saw it with Rachel Homan deciding to take a rock off in the 2018 Olympics, was that it's up to the curlers to enforce this. And then everybody said, oh, that's not the right thing to do because that's not in the spirit of the game. And she's like, well, that's the rule. And
Right.
and so for these guys, like, the spirit is that you're supposed to tell when you hit the rock.
Yeah.
And if everybody knows, you don't just say no, no, no. You don't like deny.
Yep.
You say, if you thought I hit it, okay. Like, that's just not what's going on here.
Right. Well, here's how it works 99% of the time at the recreational level is someone touches a rock. It's an accident. They say, oh, hey, I touched that. And the other team says, okay. Like, no, don't worry about it. Right. Like, that's how it works. It's 99% of the time. So this, because 99% of the time it is a mistake. Like, it's like an honest mistake. You get too close, your foot slips, whatever it is, and you touch the rock. And the other team is usually like, yeah, don't worry about it. Sometimes if it's like a guard and your foot touches it on the way by, you just put it back. Like these are not usually contentious things, but if people are going to intentionally touch the rock, then it gets to a different level.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger concern I have, because when it's on TV, okay, like, and the biggest games in the sport are on TV and we can see what's going on. What the bigger concern I have is what happens at these cash spiels if people start to do this in a more regular level, or if there are teams who are going to do this, because those bigger cash spiels, that's where you get the points that get you into the slams. And then there's a lot of money involved. That is the scary part of this. If this becomes a regular occurrence for this team or other teams, or if it's demonstrated that there's no real penalty for doing this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money at stake now, and Olympic spots, like that's where it gets really scary.
Yeah. There's got to be teeth, right, to the enforcing of the rules. And there isn't, because it's been like, oh, this is a sportsmanship game.
Yeah.
But you're right that, we've talked a lot about, oh, will there be some sort of betting scandal in curling with legalized gambling? And this could be sort of maybe Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point of like, oh, well, there's no ramifications for this Chinese team to, intentionally burn a rock at the World Championship in a game that they ended up going on to win, to put their team in a position to be able to qualify for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, they didn't. But
if they win the semifinal, they're in the Olympics.
Yeah. I think even if they win the bronze medal, they might have been in the Olympics. But it's pretty crazy. So to be like, well, we can't do anything about it, and Norway didn't complain. Okay. I think at the tour level, Sean, that's where, if you get a reputation as one of those teams, you're like persona non grata at those events, right? And, players complain to each other about other players. Everybody knows everything. And shame is the way to do it at those kind of events.
Yeah. I think it's even too, like, all right, say you have that reputation. This is where I hope it would get to, is that, well, not necessarily hope it would get to, but if you have that reputation that you touch rocks, that you cheat, if there's like a pick that goes in your favor, that if your rock is coming down and it picks, and everyone has had this where a rock picks and it works out actually pretty good for you. Good. The other team's going to say, no, you touched it. Right? Like, that's probably what's going to end up happening. And it's unfortunate, but don't cheat.
Yeah. And so for this instance, right, where there's like obvious signs of cheating, the World Curling Federation has to do something about it, right? And I don't know if that's taking points away from the Chinese Federation for qualifying. Maybe that's too harsh. Maybe it's a warning for now. We're going to be watching. And if we see this becoming a pattern, then, Russia doesn't compete anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Like I think too, because in one of the articles that I read about this, it was noted that the Chinese women at the World Championship were dumping a lot. And I think that's different because the cat is out of the bag on sweeping. Right.
Yeah.
I'm okay if we get to sweep how you want to sweep, because essentially that's what it is right now anyway. Like the rules about you have to end the stroke here or there, like whatever. People have been dumping forever. Again, one of my favorite broadcast moments is just Google Ben Hebert dumping. It's a great moment. And in the broadcast, but like people have done that for a long time. And I don't think that's nearly as bad as touching the rock. Like,
No.
right. Same thing with the foams, right? Like whatever, like you use these foams and it's determined that maybe the fabric scratches more with these foams than it was intended. Okay. We can work on that. But that's, to me, it's fundamentally different than touching the rock. Because even dumping, you're taking the chance of, well, hopefully it slows down.
Yeah, maybe nothing will happen.
Yeah, but when you're touching it, it's definitely going to move. So that is just a totally different level to me. And we can't have that. And it actually occurred to me when I was thinking about this, Scott, well, one way to actually ensure that nothing happens is, well, you just get rid of sweepers. Because all of them say, every player says, you want the team that throws the best to win. Well, if you want the team to throw the best to win, then you have no sweepers.
Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of the long-term potential of massive touching of stones and massive cheating, is that you just get rid of it, which would suck.
Yeah, and then it's like wheelchair curling.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I did see that I think Team Homan did some stuff this week with the Canadian wheelchair team, and we're talking about how difficult it is. Once that rock goes, you just got to watch it, and there's nothing you can do. And I've played in a couple
hard.
Yeah, and I've played in a couple spiels that are in a Scotch double spiel where the rule is the other person can't sweep until it gets to the hog line.
Yeah,
the far hog line. And it is a helpless feeling sometimes when you threw it poorly, or you see it curling, and it is a very helpless feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's what we get to. Who knows?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Speaking of Olympic qualification.
Yes.
So China were unable to earn enough points as the women did earn enough points, but the men's team unable to. They finish 2 points behind Czechia, who qualifies for that last position. They earned 7 points in this event by finishing 7th.
Yeah, which is great for them. Like you look at Czechia, they're the last team out last time. Now they don't have to go to the last chance qualifier. Those guys work really hard. Lukas Klima and the guys put in a lot of time. They've invested a lot of money as well into improving and getting better. And 7 points in the 7th place finish this year. They beat Bruce Mouat in that game. Again, it was right after the Canada game, but whatever. A win is a win. You take what you can take. They also beat the Chinese team. Big win there. They beat the Germans by a point. And the Americans. And the Americans is the big one, because if they lose that game, then they're all tied there with 5 and 7. There's a big group. And it's unlikely that Czechia gets in, and the Americans would have. So the Americans are on the outside looking in. A couple tough losses for the Americans too. It's not just the Czechia game, but they also were the only win for the South Koreans, who went 1-11. That's a bad loss for them. And they also lost to the Chinese team, the Germans. And so some bad losses there for Corey Dropkin and the guys. So the Americans will have to go to the last chance qualifier in both the men's and the women's. China, Japan, Netherlands, Korea, Austria, New Zealand round out the teams that earned points this year, but you would expect the Americans to be the favorites. Depends on who wins Japan as to who will, as to sort of how you might handicap that competition going forward. And, we're big fans of Wooter as well. And then that South Korean team, all of them being so young, did this experience help them? Can they win Korea again? Can they get into the Olympic qualifying process, and how much did this week really set them up for that potentially be that should be a fun. I think the women's event is deeper in that last chance qualifier as we sit right now, and I think you have a little more clarity on the men's as to who the favorites would be, but both events should be pretty fun.
I think so. Yeah. For the women's side, Norway, US, Japan, Turkey are the first four looking to go. And the men's side, US, China, Japan, Netherlands. I think a little deeper on the women's side. You're right.
So there you have it. That is the week that was. Anything else, Scott, that jumps out to you from the? Well, we didn't talk about Italy. I guess 5-7.
Yeah, a little bit of a down week for Italy. I think the fear with that is that they peaked too early, having such a great year last year.
Mm-hmm.
But what they were able to do is to know they're in, right? Not feel any of that pressure and try to work on some stuff. You would have liked to see them work on it and finish 8-4 instead of 5-7, but a couple tough games there for them. So I'm not ready to write them off, as a team,
mm-hmm.
and say they've got no chance in the Olympics, but they're trending in the wrong direction, I'd say.
Yes. And they now have the summer to set themselves up, get their schedule set for next year, and work out the kinks. And big year for the Italian curling program next year. So there you go. That's the week that was at the Men's World Curling Championship. Do want to acknowledge that the World Junior Curling Championships in its new time slot is kicking off today, Saturday, April the 12th. It is being played at Cortina d'Ampezza, which is the Olympic venue for curling. So this is the test event for Cortina d'Ampezza. They did have the World Championship back in 2010, but this is also, they've done some work on it. So this is the official test event for the venue. Really cool for the junior folks to be able to play in that. Canada is represented by Keenan Whipf and his team from the Glencoe Club in Calgary. A friend of the show, Adam Nogler, is the fifth player on that team, and Allison McNutt and her team from the Halifax Curling Club are representing Canada on the women's side. So good luck to both of those teams as they look to get on the podium for Canada at the 2025 World Junior Curling Championship, which, Scott, I do wish went back to the old schedule.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Always that test event for the Olympics, the World Championships, the World Juniors the year before, for a long time. So nice to see that continuing.
Yes. Some other sort of quick news here, Scott, in the world of curling. We do have the Players' Championship going on right now as we speak. Playoff set, we won't really get into too much of it because, when it comes right off the World Championship, I think it's really tough especially on the men's side. The women's side, all those teams have had some time. They've had a few weeks since the Worlds, but on the men's side, you're coming like Bruce Mouat didn't have a day off because we'll talk about the mixed game that he played with Homan, and we got Brett Gallant, who is just out on his feet by the end of the World Championship. He's taking the week off. Ben Hebert's hurt, so it's a tough event, and everyone says that it's the most prestigious and the best of the Grand Slams. I still fail to understand how it's that different from the other ones, but next year they're going to move it. It's going to be in January, and I think that's a good change to not have it in April, not have it after the Worlds. Especially, it would have to be later next year because everything's pushed a little bit back with the Olympics. So the players not
going to be in Toronto next year.
No, they're moving it around. So and Brad Gushin made some headlines by saying that he might not ever play in that building again. But that's more because they think they might not go back to Toronto for the next cycle. So see what happens there. So we won't really get into any talk about that. Scott, did you watch, though, the Bruce Mouat-Rachel Homan mixed game?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. Had some other things on the go Monday night. But that was sort of this big production. I put it on YouTube, and there were about 40,000 people watching on YouTube, which I thought was a pretty good number.
It's really good. Yeah.
And there was also people watching, I think, natively on the app and that kind of stuff. But pretty fun. They had the tunnel through which the players all slid out with hype music getting started, all that kind of fun stuff. The brooms, I didn't see if so. Team Homan had the option a couple times of telling them to sweep with brownie brooms.
Right.
I didn't really see if it made any difference. I guess not, looking at the final tally of skins, but that was an interesting wrinkle. And then before the game, the players didn't know about this. They said, "Oh, you get to choose which player on the other team throws the draw to the button."
Okay.
And that was like, "Oh, okay." So both teams chose the seconds, and Emma Miskew threw first and threw it through, and then Bobby Lammy threw it to the back 12 foot. So it was probably some nerves in there for sure. I watched a couple ends in the middle of the game. It really seemed like Team Mouat looked like a team that had just won a world championship.
Right.
And Team Homan looked like a team that had been off for a couple weeks. So, but pretty cool event. Pretty cool thing overall to have two world champions playing against each other. I know that wasn't necessarily the plan or the guarantee when it was announced, because it was announced quite a bit before those worlds. But yeah, it just sort of worked out that way. That it's pretty neat to be able to see such high level curling on the men's and women's side, and just sort of how close it really is. Like, it's curling is great because it can be played by any gender against any other. There's not a whole lot of difference, I think, when it comes to how good these teams are at the top levels.
Yeah, I think especially with Team Homan and the sweeping they have, the ability to throw the high weight that they have, they really do have just a remarkable skill set for them, and to be able to go up against the men's world champion and give him a pretty good game. Rachel Homan made a pretty ridiculous shot in one of the games that was similar or reminded me of the shot she made in the Scotties semifinal. Just like a ridiculous big weight through a tight hole, get the roll sort of shot. And like a good time was had. It was a good idea for charity. And Homan was playing for the Sandra Schmirler Foundation. Mouat was playing for a fan of theirs, a young man who has I believe it's a brain tumor, but I could be wrong. It's cancer for sure. So they're playing to raise money. So two good causes, a sold out building, just a success for the event and for the Grand Slam group. So good job by them.
Yeah, really good job by them. It was pretty cool to see just sort of the team. It was Charlie Boy's cancer fundraiser. That's it. Just sort of rallying behind that and talking about, their friend who watches all their games. Like, really, really cool, powerful stuff. So lots of fun. And I hope they do it again.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, you got the venue and the ice is in, so why not go for it? And so there you go. So it's the fifth then. I just pulled it up, and it's a run through a tight hole, which makes it even better for the carryover. Wasn't to win.
I remember it being like for the carryover, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
right. It's like making this amazing shot for the blank. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but very cool and a fun event there. So I think that's where we're at with the sport at this moment. I can't think of anything else that we desperately need to talk about here on a Saturday morning. So I think that will do it. And we'll say thank you for listening, everybody. If you have not yet, please do subscribe wherever you get your podcast, like, rate, comment, all that good stuff. Helps other people find the show, keeps us growing. Head on over to GameOfThronesPod.com. All past episodes are there, plus a link to the merch. And we're on the socials at Game of Stones Pod, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. And you can let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. Scott, I was gone, and where I was, the lowest high that we had for the week was about 14 degrees, and it was bright and sunny, and very rare for northern France. Not a drop of rain the whole week
in April.
It was stunning. Also, I was a little disappointed. I think for what we do, a little authentic experience is a little rain, a little mud. And I also only brought my waterproof shoes because history has told me that's all I need to bring on this particular trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, no water at all. So my feet were actually quite warm most of the time. But it also, hopefully, fingers crossed, allowed me to miss the final snowstorm here in Ottawa, or at least a late snowstorm. So I was pleased about that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's brutal. Like, I'm just tired of snow.
Yeah, it should be done though, right? Like, the snow's pretty much all gone now. I have a little bit left in my backyard, not much.
There is some flurries forecast for Monday night into Tuesday morning.
Okay.
But probably won't stick around. The temperatures are looking pretty much above zero. We had that false spring a few weeks ago where it was like 20 degrees.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. I think I went to Montreal that weekend, and I was walking around really hot.
Right.
But yeah, I got to imagine it's over, right?
I think so. I mean, there was freezing rain the day I left on April the 2nd.
I disappointed a lot of people on April 2nd, Sean, because there was an event we were having at work, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we should probably cancel because the freezing rain."
Yeah.
And the chief of staff said to me, "Hey, Scott, what's it going to do?" And I said, it'll be freezing rain, but only till like midnight. It'll warm up after that, just be slushy and wet.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Good answer. We're keeping the event on." And the looks I got from the people who wanted to work at home that day were like, "Oh my God, you couldn't have just told him that the roads would be bad." And I said, "Hey man, that's what I do. I forecast correctly."
Were the roads bad the next day?
No, it was a little bit of slush in the morning when I got up, but mostly rain by then. So all good, man. It was all good.
There you go. The thing I do, we have people come from all across the country, and you convene in Montreal, and we all take the flight over from Montreal. We did have the flight from Toronto was delayed about 90 minutes because the rain had started there and they had to de-ice. And so I think Pearson was a little backed up, but we got out of Montreal, from what I read, about an hour before it started. The rain started. So all smooth there until we got to about Newfoundland, and then it got decidedly not smooth in the sky, but made it there and back. That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters for sure. There was there was quite a bit of ice in central Ontario though, Sean. Like I heard in Peterborough, a lot of people without power from the freezing rain. So hope everybody's doing better. I hope the power's back on.
Yep.
And hopefully we're done with winter weather for another 4 months or something.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. Hopefully that's the case. And hopefully spring has sprung wherever it is you are, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, and hopefully you're having a nice fall. So
autumn has autumned.
Yes. So with that, we will say goodbye for this week. We will be back later in the week. I don't know if we'll be in the normal Wednesday slot, but something will come out later this week. So keep an eye on that. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.